This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, thanks so much for joining me. Wow, this is a blast from the past, this one. This is a chat with the great Peter Criss, the original Catman in Kiss. The conversation was conducted in early May 2017, so it has been available via the Scars and Guitars podcast ever since, but I'm now giving it to you, the YouTube audience, for the first time. Now, the catalyst for the conversation with Pete, well, you can always talk about a lot of things with the Catman, but he was performing his second last show. And I think he's kept to his word on this one here, which is unusual for Kiss, let's face it. But in Melbourne, he was playing on May 12 at the Sofitel Ballroom there. So he did an 11-song set down there. And I got to say, I found Pete to be an absolute gentleman. And this was about the third or fourth chat that I'd ever conducted for the podcast. Sorry, not even for the podcast, interviewing in general. So, yeah, I was a bit nervous before this one here, but I needn't have been because Pete, he had plenty of things to say, certainly in the allocated time that I was given, which I stuck to. So that's why the chat's a little bit shorter than maybe the seasoned listener to the podcast might anticipate. But it's all value, all gold in this one here. Here he is, Peter Criss from Kiss.
Hello.
Oh, hi, it's Andrew McKay Smith calling. Is this Peter?
Andrew, how you doing? I'm waiting for you. All right. Yes, it is. I was like, oh my God, I left it. It's night. Well, it's nighttime here, so I'm kind of like in my PJs. I'm getting ready to hold up to the TV. Get up to the TV and get some cookies and milk, man.
Good on you, mate. Mate, what's on the agenda for, or what do you watch when you go to sleep, mate? I want to get every detail, as much detail as I can capture from the great Peter Criss.
I don't know. I love everything. There's so much crap on the reality stuff. My wife and I now on the chat with good stuff, but let's talk about the gig with God. This is going to be pretty cool, I think.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, mate, I'll kick things off then. And as I said, you are a revered drummer, and when you get the opportunity to chat to one of the most influential drummers in the history of rock and roll, it's rather a daunting task to choose an opening question. But I think I've got a good one to start the interview, so here goes. What were your thoughts when you first started your career as a recording musician in the band Chelsea in 1970? Did you think the ensuing 40 or 45 years or so would contain as much success and all of the different roads that you've travelled?
I'm very proud of Chelsea. When I started recording, I really thought I was going to make it. They were extremely creative. I just got off with a gentleman knew about Chelsea. And I was very freaking because these guys were young. They were from college. And we were all into, 69, man, only Knackle. And I was very influenced from the Aeroplane to the Doors to Hendrix to the Mothers of Invention. So these guys were too, and they were from the Village. And so when we found out that we were going to get produced by Lou Meritstein, who did, Astro Weeks, well, Van Morrison, I flipped out. I was like, holy shit, we made it. Like, he's a genius. And I go look at the work on, one of my favorite albums is Astro Weeks from Van Morrison.
Sure,
and
great.
we got the Velvet Underground, we got John Cale to play electric viola. So this was really cool. Like all of a sudden, all these very hip. We recorded in Chelsea, down in Chelsea near the Chelsea Hotel, so it couldn't get any better. And like all these amazing guys are working on the album that did Astro Weeks, and some of the guys from Louis dropped in and saying hi. So I was as a young kid, like my God, 20-something-year-old drummer. And I was freaking out. I did all those club days and worked it, and oh my God, we're going to make it. But as fate would have it, we didn't. And I was very influential with these guys as far as I didn't get to sing, would have been nice, but they let me really arrange a lot of their stuff because they weren't really savvy to rock and roll kind of. They were more funky kind of guys that wanted to do more, Birds or more Dylan and I'm like, no, we got to do this a little more Stonesy, and we have to do this a little more back. So it was a really, and they were really sweethearts. So half of them are gone, and I dedicated my first album, Mike Banga, my first song to him, because he died at 42 of smiling. What a great bass player. So, and then out of the band, Sam Benridge stayed with me, and we started a group called Lips, which is outrageous. And then that kind of fell apart, and then I met Gene and Paul.
Yep.
But Stan and I always wrote together. We wouldn't stop writing together, so thank God, because we wrote that together. And well, that's one of people's choice, and that's the biggest hit the band's ever had. I'm very proud of that. And so most of all our songs were Chris and Penry's songs. So a lot comes from Chelsea. That's been very good luck for me. All the years, almost cool tunes, Dirty Living, or whatever we might have done. Plus, we're really a Stan Penridge in my word.
So I read your biography, and it was one of those books that I read in a few days as I simply couldn't put it down. And you come across as very frank, open, and willing to share your thoughts. So would you say that fate has a plan for us all?
Yeah, I do. I think God, I'm a big God guy, obviously. You can tell in my book. I'm a 10-year, going on 11-year male breast cancer survivor.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. I've gotten a major amount of, nice awards for going out and being an activist, because men really are not educated in it. And it annoys me because it's 1%, but if it was your dad or my brother, we'd freak out. And when I got it, my wife freaked out. And it was close, and thank God I went immediately, and I didn't have to get chemo, and I didn't have to lose my hair and go through all that horror. But since then, oh my God, my friend, I've touched so many lives that have nothing to do with rock and roll, the realm of rock and roll, all over the world, that I get emails from Iraq guys from all over the world thanking me, or women. It's just amazing spiritually, kind of like maybe the George Harrison of kids, that I've really gotten so close to God in a respect that I am so grateful to pretty much waking up every day, really. And my wife beat cancer herself, and she's 20 years younger. So, I really have a lot to thank. And as I got to do the book and then really search my soul, and there's no bullshit. That's the God honest truth. I've never written I really ripped out my heart. And I said, well, if I'm going to knock somebody else, I'm going to put myself just as bad on the line. And I'm not going to make myself look any better. It wasn't going to be like, I'm so cool and they're not. I really laid it on the line. I'm told it's one of the best books that kind of has been put out amongst the four of us. I'm very proud of that. But, that I got to say the other side, when there was always, some shit that would go out, it would be kind of a one-sided story. And I would always say, well, there's two sides to the street, man. There's another side to the story that the fans need to know that. They need to know why. If I wrecked the jungle, if I quit the band, or if I did this or did that, what was my reason? I'm not an idiot. I'm really well versed. I went to school. I'm very intelligent. I don't, I look at life as an important thing. So I was really fluttered, but I couldn't tell the fans a lot of times during the reunion or during this or during that, this stuff was going on, and this is why I was pissed, and this is why I was kidding. So, it all came out in the book. I was very proud of it. I got a great response, and I got to meet my fans, like really meet a one-on-one. Man, I've seen tattoos that you wouldn't believe when they put them.
I bet.
Blew my mind. Holy mackerel. And I got to really meet Peter Criss fans as well as Kiss fans. Not that I love the band. I love my band, but I love the fact that these people are so honest. They can say one more time, or you got to do it one more time. And Melbourne has been so cool to me. We did the symphony there. You guys have always been open arms to us with respect.
Yes.
You've always loved each and one of us separately and as a band more than what a lot of countries do. But there's something special about where you are. So I'm going to do my next last show there, and I'm very excited about it.
Well, we love you here in Australia, and you've touched on that already, which is your relationship with Australian audiences over the years. So I'll ask you a bit of a different question now. Looking back, right back again to when you first started with Chelsea, if you had your time over again, do you think you'd do anything different?
No, I would not. I played the club for almost 10 years. I wanted a band that was really into, I wanted to get a band that does originals. I got fed up with cover bands, and I found that they were a vein that I could really be creative, and so I was working on my creation as a young musician of all my roots, from Latin to jazz to Dylan to the Beatles and down. Then I could really start becoming the young songwriter that I felt I was beside a drummer. And they opened, once they opened that door, I had no fear. And I said, you know what, that's the problem. A lot of drummers are probably so talented, like Collins or Henry, that can.
Sure.
I'm just a little afraid maybe to jump in the forefront. Because God forbid you should get the guitar player's way. Holy mackerel, that's why I levitated. 60 feet, you couldn't miss me, man. But, I did that. It was really done with me and Stan way before then. They weren't even on, really, the recording or anything to do with it. They actually hated it. So it became a massive hit. But I'm very proud of it. I love music. I love streams. I love Sinatra. I love real music, I guess. I just love jazz. I love this. I love the Bee Gees to death.
Sure. Great. Yep. So what would you say to a band or an artist starting out?
Recently I saw Barry Gibb. I was like,
Barry Gibb,
good for the Bee Gees recently. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're from Brisbane, actually, which is where I'm from. Yeah. So there you go. So,
man, a lot of it.
Well, if you come up to Brisbane, there's actually a shrine or a homage to the Bee Gees in a place called Redcliffe where they first started out.
Oh, really? I would believe that. It was very humbling to see Barry and all the buggers on, even the youngest. But boy, what a great guy MTV gave him of the performers who did their songs. You sit back and then you realize, man, this guy they wrote some great songs. Mm-hmm. I'm an early Bee Gee guy, so I go back to like Massachusetts and Mr. Jones, and I go back to that really early kind of Kiss. I think it was like a Beatles kind of feel they had in the beginning until they got their own kind of sound, and I love that, man. They could do harmonies like nobody.
Oh, yeah, no, phenomenal. Yeah, almost impossible to recreate, really, aren't they? And they could pull it off live as well, which is really unique.
Yeah, and so again, for me with the band, I've always listened to many other musical things and pretty much one Led Zeppelin, Who. That was kind of always on the boys' brains. That was their real,
yes.
That was their real soul. That was the band that they really gravitated to. They didn't gravitate anywhere else to any other musics. And for me, being a musician, that rock star bullshit, I wanted to learn how to play all other musics. I wanted to be a real drummer's drummer if you hired me.
Sure.
To do a polka. I could do it, man. If you do the salsa, I could do it. And I learned that very early in my career. The more you knew, the more you worked. But the less you knew, the less you worked. So.
Yeah, cool. So, at the height of your success with Kiss,
my brother was a great singer. So, yeah.
Well, you got that as well. I mean, Beth's a wonderful song. We still play it. Yeah. So, at the height of your success with Kiss, were you aware of just how many impressionable kids and teenagers you were influencing to become a drummer and to get into rock and roll?
Yeah, around 75, 76, I started seeing, wow, it wasn't just the band, it was like 4 individuals, like the Beatles, kind of. And I was getting a lot of, mail for me, beside all the other boys who getting their own mails.
Yep.
And I started to see me on a lot of faces on drummers, and recently I got awarded most influential drummer to make other drummers play. And I got this wonderful thing my wife worked out with a few people. And, here's Steven Adler and Kenny Arnold and Craig Bessemet. Vince Steele. And there's guys like that all going, hey, Peter, man, Chad Wagner, if it wasn't for you, dude, I wouldn't be playing drums today. I wouldn't have a great living. And it really blows me away, man. Really just blows my mind.
Oh, fantastic. All right, well, I'll wrap things up. And any last words for Australian listeners?
Can't wait to get there. Not looking forward to the 24 hours of the plane, but I'm sure looking forward to seeing you guys. It's going to be a breath of fresh air. It's going to be a very magical evening, trust me, my friend. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic, mate. Well, we love you here, mate. Come down anytime you want.
I'm playing for one or two people or a million people. Who's ever going to get me is going to get a whole different Peter Criss doing a whole different kind of Peter Criss stuff. So it's going to be magic.
Oh, there's going to be a room full of people there, I can assure you, mate, and they'd have you there every night, I think, if they could, down in Melbourne.
Yeah, well, God bless you, man. I wanted to do it in intimate. That's how I started in clubs, and I said to my wife, I didn't want to end in stadiums. I wanted to end in an intimate place. Same in New York here. We have a nice intimate place. We built a real intimate rock club that's, not just cool, and that's what it should be.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, back where it all started. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, thanks very much again, Pete.
Mate, well, I love it. God bless you, and thanks so much. I'm very honored that you called me. Really, thank you so much, and I'll see you, man.
Absolutely, mate. Yep.
Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, chat to you soon. Thanks. Bye.
Fascinating stuff. I'm really grateful that I had that opportunity way back in the day to chat to Peter, because he doesn't do many interviews, and there were only a few that were allocated in advance of those shows, or that show down in Melbourne, because frankly a gig like that sells itself without much promotion. There are so many hardcore, deeply invested fans of the group across Australia, but particularly in Melbourne. Now, if you like that one, there are more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. Whilst you're there, check out my book. You can click the link in the banner, and if you do complete the purchase after you've had a bit of a read before you buy, that sort of thing, please do hit me up on socials. I'm easily found because I want to thank you in person. And there's some more information to share with you about the book in the moment. But before we get to that, I need to bid you a fond farewell. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it's a goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
my name is John 5, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Trey Exagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.